Mock Talk is now in session. Hi, my name is Christiana Garcia. I'm a high schooler with a bit of an unhealthy obsession with mock trial. If you're watching this, I suspect you might share that same obsession, and you're in the right place. Because today, I'm talking with the teenager who earned the title of the best high school mock trial competitor in the world, the 2024 Gladiator Champion, Marvin Exantus. Welcome to Mock Talk, Marvin.
Hi, Christiana. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's literally such an honor to be here, and I'm very grateful that you brought me on this platform that you've created, which is such an amazing platform for people to be able to discover more about what mock trial is and for people to get more resources that they may not have. So, an amazing job to you for creating this beautiful platform.
Thank you. And I'm so excited you're here. So, first off, let's start off with for those who aren't familiar with what the Gladiator tournament is, it's not your typical county or state level high school tournament. How
For
would
sure.
you break it down?
Right. So, to be honest, I didn't know much about Gladiator going into it. I just knew that it was very high level. But now that I've competed in it, I think I can give a pretty good insight on what it is. So, Gladiator is a invitational style tournament. Like we know in mock trial, we have our similar state nationals, the similar circuit tournaments. But Gladiator is an invitational tournament that you have to be invited to. So, in typical mock trials, we see that you compete with your team, whether that's teams of like six or four, but in Gladiator, you are solo. There are no teams, and you get one witness to prep with, but you have to do every single aspect of the mock trial by yourself. That includes the openings, directs, crosses, and closings, as well as objections. And it is pretty tough, but they invite about last year when I did it, it was about 60 competitors of the best competitors around the world to compete, battle it out one on one. And last year was the first year that they've ever done 1v1v1, which was pretty interesting.
So, out of all of those competitors, Marvin, you came out on top, which
Surprisingly.
surprisingly, I watched your final round. You were excellent.
It was hilarious because the entire time of that round, I swore that I was in dead third place. Like I promised I had no idea. I sat down after my closing and I literally was talking to like my teammate at the time, my witness. And I literally was like, I just got third place. There's absolutely no way. So it was pretty shocking, especially since I was the first person from my school to do it. I didn't have much background and our school doesn't have any background in Gladiator. So it was pretty exciting, pretty historic.
Okay, so you just mentioned historic. You weren't just the first person in your school to like make Gladiator. It's my understanding that Fort Lauderdale High School this season actually went undefeated, making history, winning the Florida State
Yeah.
championship. Is that right?
Yeah, no, yeah. It was a really, really, really amazing season. We started with Empire Chicago. That's another mock trial tournament, which I'm sure a lot of people are more used to. It's more of the mainstream ones. We went pretty much undefeated there. And then after that, we went on to the normal district state Nats competition, and we were able to go undefeated from then too. So that's really, really crazy. Um, I think like looking back like from freshman year to senior year, it was so funny because I always said like when I was a sophomore, I was like, bro, all the current seniors are leaving. Like I'm a sophomore and like all the seniors leaving. I'm like, what's gonna happen? Like it's actually just insane like how much we've grown because like when I look back, I'm like, my current team would wash that old team, in a round. We'd probably like sweep them. But it's just like really, really amazing. And at Knott's, we were the highest ranked Florida team since 1992. So that was pretty incredible.
So you mentioned like areas of growth. I think it's really common to think back to like your younger selves in mock trial and be like, wow, I wasn't the best.
For
What were
sure.
some, yeah, what were some things you did as team captain to kind of focus your team on potential on ultimately winning the state championship?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it came with not just me being captain, but with the coaching style that we had. We had three coaches. Two of them were attorney coaches, and then one of them is a coach at our school. And I think with just the direction of how our team works together so well, that's really just what made it come together. And I think that's important with any mock trial team to have connections because, everything flows better. And when you're doing it, it doesn't seem as much as a chore, so it's not like as hard, like you're not doing an extracurricular, you're just having fun with your friends, you know? So I think that that's a really big part in our team, and to be honest, I think that that's really instrumental in what helped us go this undefeated entire year, really, our connections with one another and just, being friends outside of mock trial, being teammates outside of mock trial, because let's say we write a direct and it's maybe not early, like it's a last minute type direct. It's easier
Mhm.
to flow well because we're really close friends with each other already. Like it's not like anything hard. So I think like being captain, I think that it's really important, like that our team just has those connections. And I think that something that we did this year, which we've tried to do in the past, but I think we've really excelled at it this year, is just creativity.
What would you say that you guys are creative with?
Yeah, so I think a lot of what Fort Lauderdale does is I think we are really well, a lot of what Fort Lauderdale did while I was on the team. I keep forgetting that I'm an alumni now. But I think that a lot of what we did when I was on the team, I think we were really creative and just coming up with unique ways to tell our story. Every team can write an opening, every team can write a direct, every team can write a cross, every team can write a closing. But what really makes that stand out, of course, is the way that you decide to tell that entire story. So I think just with our creative uses of demonstratives, our creative uses and like how we choose to structure a direct, that's what really just helped us a lot this year. Like for example, in the Empire 2024 case this year, we played tug of war in the courtroom.
Wait, this was I tried this case. It was basically like about a politician paying
Yes,
somebody money to lie.
right. So the case had to do with a politician and a homeless person, and we use playing tug of war in a courtroom to show power imbalance.
That's really interesting. That's great use of creativity.
Yeah, so I think that that's like just like things like that, it really helped us a lot. And I know that they're for sure going to continue doing creative things, which is really helpful to them as we've seen with our record this year. So I'm just really grateful, to have been a part of that and just have a historic season with them.
In your final round of Gladiator, you brought out like you were the only finalist who had like blown up demonstratives, like exhibits and even like a timeline, if I recall right.
Right.
Do you have
Yeah.
any tips on how to effectively use demonstratives in mock trial?
Yeah, for sure. So I think going into Gladiator, like I was just saying before, we knew that it's the best competitors in the world. We knew everyone was going to be great regardless. So I think that what my coach and I really tried to hone in on was once again that creative aspect and do different things, which was even something as simple as those blown up demonstratives. I made them, we got them printed and we blown them up. And I think when it comes to how to use them effectively, I would say in order to make sure that you're using a demonstrative effectively, I would make sure that it actually matches with what you're saying in a courtroom. Like, for example, people put up demonstratives and it's just up the entire time a lot, but it's not being used the entire time. So, for example, in that Gladiator round, like you said, I had a timeline. It was basically a timeline of the evidence. At first, fun fact, I didn't know how I was going to use that demonstrative. I created it because it looked cool. And I was like, I was going to use it in my closing, I think. I think at first I was going to use it in my closing, but when I was just kept working on my closing, it just didn't fit. So I think maybe 2 days or less than a week for sure before Gladiator, we had it and we already had it printed and we were just like, we don't know what to do with it. And then we were thinking and we were just like, okay, that's just how I'm going to structure my direct. So I literally structured my entire direct around that entire demonstrative, and I followed the evidence within my direct. So I think that that's really a big thing in mock draw and how you should use demonstratives effectively for sure.
So you've seen competitors at the county level and the international level.
Mhm.
From what you've seen, what separates the good competitors from the great ones?
Um, I for sure would say what would separate the good competitors from the great competitors is individuality and styles of how they do mock trial for sure. Like, I think that I think doing mock trial for as long as I've done it, not saying like I'm an expert or anything, because I'm literally far from an expert. I'm literally still need help with everything that I do in mock trial, even as a senior on the team. So I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I think like just from doing all the competitions that I did, I think what separates a good competitor from someone who's great is how they do mock trial. And that's with how they use their voice, if they're being purposeful or if they're just trying to change their voice on purpose to try to sound good. I think it's with how they use their hands. Are they using them purposeful or are they just using it to sound good? And I also think it just comes to like how knowledgeable you are, like how knowledgeable you know the case. And I think another really thing that separates good from great, it comes with the extemp score. In mock trial, there's that extemp level where it's like, how do you react? Can you react in a courtroom? Can you say what's going on in the courtroom? Like, for example, if there's an objection, I've actually done this before. This was really like my first time doing it at Nats really late in the game. I probably should have done it sooner. But like I would say an objection, like if you're arguing an objection that's, for example, the judge like sustained previously and the other side objects to you on that same grounds, like just say in the courtroom, Your Honor, you sustained it previously on those same grounds. So I think just like using that in court language and things like that, that's really what separates a great team, a good team from a great team, and a great competitor from a great competitor for sure.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I just started kind of doing that recently, like really listening and using my ears. Like
Yeah, for
sometimes
sure.
mockers forget, like, you have two ears, one mouth. Like we all like to speak, but people who can listen go really far in this
Yeah,
activity.
no, I think for sure it's definitely been a really good aspect that I've used when trying cases more recently this season. I think I've stepped out of my comfort zone a lot this season. Um, but like, yeah, just listening to what's happening in the courtroom, listening to the judges' rulings, using their arguments against them, flipping themes, that's more like common level. But just things like that, that's really what's going to make someone look at you as good as great. And that's really what I saw a lot of at nationals, which is amazing because they're all great competitors. And even at Gladiator, everyone's flipping themes, everyone's like using what you just said against you. So I think that that's a really good tool that you definitely should use.
How was nationals?
Nationals was really great. You know, I think I didn't, how do I say this? When you're going into mock trials, there's a lot of teams at nationals. There was 48 this year, and it's like almost, at let's say Empire, for example. There's more the newer teams that are just getting into it. And then, there's more of the high level teams. At nationals, everyone's good. Literally everyone's great. So it was really hard. It was a really great experience. It was our school's first time ever going to Nats, like I said previously. We were able to go undefeated. We went against a California team, our first round. Then the second round, we went against Iowa. Third round, Arizona. And then fourth round, we went against Texas. So it was a really hard shrink the schedule that we had. But it was really amazing, being able to, it was my first time going to Arizona and I was also able to win an outstanding attorney award. So it was literally great. And my team got third. So it was amazing.
Just win after win. That's really great.
No, it actually surprises me because like generally, like if I'm being honest, I think my biggest fear like going into this season is like I was gonna flop after Gladiator. Like I was just gonna win Gladiator and then like after that I was just gonna plummet. So I think it like just generally felt good to know like that people still saw me as like a really great competitor because like I said, everyone was great. So for me to still be able to like stand out and get that award, it was definitely rewarding because I think like going into the season, that was 100% my biggest fear that I was just gonna fall off.
That makes sense. Well, I actually want to talk about Gladiator
Mm,
because not a lot of people know that you have to prep all sides of like a case in
mm.
just in 1 month, actually.
Yeah.
What was unique about your preparation and approach to this limited preparation time?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So last summer, it was actually the most draining summer ever. Not only was I prepping for Gladiator, but I was doing online classes over the summer, like just to like get ahead before the school year started. And I was had a job. Like I had a job on
Oh
top.
my.
So I was literally doing all three things at the same time. So I think to be honest, but I still was able to make it work. And how I did prep for Glad, I literally practiced every single day. I did something every single day. Like when we first got the case packet, I read it and then I started to I know that it's like a common thing that people say, like you should just draft immediately as soon as you get the case. I didn't really take that approach, to be honest. Like when I write, like I like it to be purposeful. Like if I just like start writing immediately and I don't really like and I'm not like feeling it or I'm not like fully feel like I have all the information, it's just going to be a waste of my time, really. That's how I think about it.
Mhm.
So I made sure that I actually digested everything. I created timelines of the evidence. Like I was writing down every date, every event that happened in a Google Doc. And then after that, I would discuss it with my coach and then I think another thing, we spent a good amount of time on theme and theory, like a good amount of time, like making sure that we had a solid theme and theory, because I think that that's a really important thing when it comes to mock trial, especially at a competition like GLAD. So after theme and theory, that's when we finally just started drafting, and that was probably like a week after the case already came out. So I was already only had 3 weeks left. So
Yeah.
we drafted, and then I think we probably spent like a week online, and then after that week, it was every practice was in person. I was literally driving across town, going to the courthouse, practicing in person, then driving back across town to go to work. So it was very, very interesting. And then I think maybe the last couple days or last 2 days before Glad is when I actually tried being a witness because I was so focused on the attorney aspect of it. Like going into
Yeah.
Glad, like I probably practiced being a witness maybe twice. So it was just like I was just going with the flow. But it was a really great experience nonetheless. And it gave me like a high. Like it gave me like I feel like I'm doing like so much at once. Like I feel like I'm being so like what's the word I'm thinking of? Like I feel like I was just getting so much done, and I feel like everything I was doing, it was just purposeful. And going into the competition, I didn't feel 100% prepared, but it ended up working out somehow. So
Honestly, sometimes I feel like my best mock trial ideas come to me when I'm not even like at my desk sitting down doing mock trial. It's like when
right,
I'm at
that's
doing homework or like when I'm working
right
out.
for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, like that's why I really don't like follow the idea of drafting immediately, because I rather write purposeful than just write and it's like just crap.
For sure, for sure. So you mentioned that you were surprised that you made like the final championship round.
Insane.
Before that, you must have known you were doing pretty well in the competition.
Well, okay, let me think. I think that I knew I was doing well, especially when I found out that I was an attorney fifth round. It was very funny. I literally jumped and I was screaming inside the courtroom. It was very funny. So I knew I was doing somewhat well. So by the time that the award ceremony came, to be honest, they were going up like the rankings, like they got to like top 10 attorneys maybe. So by the time they got to top five and my name had not been called, there was a part of me that was like so happy because I was like, okay, I think maybe like I actually was doing even more well than I thought, and like I got it. But then there was still a part of me that was like, dang, what if I didn't, like, place at all? So then by the
Mhm.
time they got to third, it was like, wow, I stood in because I think I was the last out of the three to be called. So I think I was like literally the very last name called. Like, because I think they called Karthik first, then Alex, then me. So it was like just insane. But to be honest, like by the time they got to maybe the last person, I kind of was more so feeling better. Like I was like, okay, I think it might be me. Like I think there's a good chance that it might be me. So it was a battle between my emotions, but it was good. I liked it.
Did you have any ideas, like a game plan, like this is what I'm going to do in the championship round, or did you just wing it?
That's the funniest part. Like, I literally had no idea how the championship round worked. Like, I didn't know like that I picked my own witness. I didn't know any of that. Like, when it was time for the award ceremony and they got to it, I was thinking they asked me what side I wanted to do because I think Carthoric he had to be Addison Kid because I guess that's just how the rules worked out. So when they
Mm.
asked me what side I wanted to do, I for sure said prosecution because I knew that that was for sure my better side. Um, And then they asked me, who do I want to be as my witness? I literally in my head, like I had to come up with the idea just like split second because I'm like, I had no idea that it existed. Like I didn't know that's how it worked. So I said my witness from, I think it was my fourth round, David. He was in my witness in my fourth round as well, because I think that that's just the best direct. My direct has worked out since the entire competition started. Um, and then yeah, and then they added, it was crazy because they added, the extra like affidavit, part of the affidavit, and they added the new exhibits right before the championship round started. And they added an extra witness. So I had two witnesses now all of a sudden. And I had to, so not only did I have to pick two witnesses on the spot, which I did not know, I had to prep an extra witness that I never had to prep in the entire competition. So it was very insane. Like genuinely, like it was insane, but it all worked out somehow. I don't know how, but it all worked out.
I remember being in the room and just like feeling all the energy. Like everyone was just on a high. Like after that award ceremony, we're like, we're gonna watch this great championship round. And like all three of you, like Alex, Karthik, and you, Marvin, were like excellent competitors. So you just felt that energy in the round.
It was really, really great. Like it literally like felt like because everyone was just so amazing like in the final round, like it literally just felt like as soon as you feel like you did something good, like someone else is coming in right to up what like one up you or something. So like everyone was just like going back and forth on objections, like on your crosses, like everything. So it was like very intense, to be honest. Like I was hot, like it was intense, but it was very good.
So you mentioned previously that you had to direct two witnesses that you had very limited time to practice with. How
Mhm.
did you go about working out that direct examination in that small time you had?
Right. So being that I had David in that specific moment, being that I had David in a previous round, he knew the ins and out already. There was maybe like minor changes I needed to work on with him. So I really focused on my second witness, which was Jenna. She played Chris Walensky. She was the on the spot witness that they gave me. So I really wanted to focus on her because I was starting that direct from literally scratch. So first, before you talk to your witnesses, GLAD allowed you to have like one final meeting with like your coaches or like an adult or whatever. So I think like when I was discussing with my coaches and we were coming up with a quick game plan, we were just thinking to keep it as sweet and short as possible, Like get in, get out. Like make sure that it's a good, well-structured direct, but just get the information that you need. Because to be honest, there was not much for Chris Walensky to say. So it was not like a thing where you needed to try to be creative in that moment. It was just kind of one of those things where you just want to feed the jury that information because I knew that I had a somewhat creative direct already with David with the whole timeline exhibit. So I just want to make sure, like, to show the jury that I can be creative, but I can be stern and just have a simple and, you know, informative direct. So I think going into that, I just wanted to be sweet, short, and just get out the information I need and don't worry about anything else.
Is there anything else you would maybe suggest what for Gladiators, since Gladiators only about a month away, to maybe work
Um,
on during their practice time?
hmm. I would say practicing in person beats Zoom any day. Like practicing, like if you can in a real courtroom. I was grateful enough to have a judge in Broward County lend me her courtroom. So I
Wow.
was practicing in a courtroom as much as possible. And two, if you are gonna bring like, boards, demonstratives, practice like with them. Like, so that's why my coach, I'm very grateful for him. He handled all my demonstratives. I just made them and then I sent them over to him and he handled getting them printed and all that. But like he wanted to make sure that we had the demonstratives maybe 2 weeks before Glad even started so I can practice with them. Because I think the person who looks cleaner and just more, chill when handling demonstratives, that's the one who's going to come out like looking, like I said, like more cool, to the jury. So practicing with your demonstratives, practicing in a real courtroom if you can for sure, and making sure you're meaningfully drafting things, I think is really my three big tips for sure. And be memorized. Because There, I did defense one run at Gladiator and I forgot my closing. I forgot a part of my closing that I for sure wanted to like have and stick. So being memorized, try to memorize. And I think that I kind of blame myself for that because there were times where I could have memorized it and I just like chilled off on that. So be memorized. Also, one more tip, get as
Yeah,
many people to hear it as you can. Like, don't be I would say don't be afraid to let people hear your stuff. You know, for Gladiator, I think I did two scrimmages for Gladiator, two or three. I think two actually. And like my first scrimmage, when like I let people hear it for the live first time because I invited some other attorneys that I know, like in our community, we invited a couple other attorneys to watch me, and it was bad. Like I literally like once the Zoom call ended, I literally just wanted to cry. Like it was so bad. I was like, I literally just entered this competition. I'm gonna do so badly. Like I don't even know like how to argue with two other people yelling at me at the same time. So I was just like, oh my God, this is so bad. And then, you know, I did my second scrimmage. It went like 100 times more better. And then even after that, like the days leading up to Gladiator, like even the day before Gladiator, I practiced till like maybe 5. I was just letting people hear it. Like I practiced in front of the judge who was letting me use her courtroom. I practiced in front of some old FLHS Montreal alumni. I practiced with my current FLHS alumni teammates. I practiced with attorney coaches that were in the community. Like it was just, I just let people hear it and I got all the feedback I could because, you know, mock trial is very subjective. Everyone is very different. The jury who are judging you is very different. So I would say let's get as much advice as possible, you know?
that's really great. So moving on, I want to kind of talk about your own team at your high school and see how some advice you could share with other high school mockers. So you're the captain of the team, and you mentioned before this interview that you have to kind of raise for your team. What are some ways you make sure you effectively raise money to fund your program?
Yeah. So I think when it comes to raising money, I think what's been most helpful for us recently is not being afraid to reach out to people. I think that that was a problem that we had. That was our problem with fundraising in the beginning. So I think more recently, you know, we started like for example like I said we're from Broward County in Florida, so how we would do it and like how what was most effective, we would literally go on Florida bar websites and like just go down like the because literally every attorney who's licensed to practice is on the bar website for your specific state. So we would each take for Nats specifically, for example, we would take a different, we were assigned 2 to 3 counties, and we would just reach out to anyone, go down the Florida bar directory and reach out to anyone, law firms, any law firms that would pop up in our assigned county and just keep going. I think that that was really effective. We were able to raise a good amount of money in such a little bit of time because the turnaround from our states to Nats was about a month and a couple weeks, 6 weeks in total, maybe. So we were able to raise, I think it was 7,000 in 6 weeks. And then even before for states in maybe a month, we were able to raise about 5,000. So that was like 12,000 in the span of 3 months, you know? And that just came with reaching out to people because you never know like who would be willing to help you out. And what was so crazy is once, like, for example, I would reach out to someone, they would forward it to their whole entire law office, and now their entire law office knows about it. And they would literally like, because I was on all the email chains. So this
Yeah.
one guy, for example, he like made like a bet with his whole entire office. He's like, I bet you guys like to match my donation. He donated $200 and maybe about six at least of the other law members donated. So that was already over $1,000 from one law firm.
Wow. I'll take that. I need to take that down because that's a really, really good tip that I've honestly never thought about before.
Yeah, I know it definitely helped a lot. And just sharing it with friends, family, like coming up with the plan, you know, how our coach, he did it, how we initially started was, for example, we would have a meeting with our coach, a fundraising meeting with our coach, and he would access how many people can get to donate and how much money. That's our goal. And then before he would even like set up the GoFundMe, he would make us, you know, keep our promise to him, and we would make a Google Doc sheet. Like, for example, if I said I think I can get I know 100 people I can ask to donate money. He would want us to create a Google Doc with 100 different people that we think we can get to donate. And once everyone finally uploaded all their documents to the drive, that's when he would create the GoFundMe. So I think just like that initiative and that initiative just is what it takes.
What's in your toolbox for mock trial that you think is like an underrated skill that more people should lock in on?
Something in my or a characteristic in my toolbox that makes my style work is, to be honest, authenticity. Like, I think authenticity is so underrated when it comes to mock trial, like I don't like I'm not saying like it doesn't work for a lot of people because it does, but like for me, example, like I don't think I have like a lawyer voice from my regular voice. Like how I'm talking now is exactly how I would do an opening, how I would do a closing. Like I would speak in the exact same voice. Like I don't have a different voice that I turn on and off, which and that works for some people. So I'm not like hating on that at all because if it works for you, amazing. Like, but I think specifically for me, I think just that authentic tone is really has just been what I stuck by since I've started doing mock trial. And it's helped me a lot stand out somehow. I don't know how, but it's helped me a lot just stand out, just like talking in my regular voice, you know. Yeah, that's my honest answer, to be honest.
So you are a 2024 graduate. Congratulations. Are you going to be doing college mock or what does this next chapter look like?
Yeah, so I'm going to the University of South Florida and I plan to continue college mock trial. They do have a trial process, so we'll see what happens, but fingers crossed. So yeah, I do plan on continuing college mock trial, and I think it's going to be a change for sure. I know that in college mock, I have to be more independent. As you know, the resources I would say, like, you don't have a coach like there every practice to like work with. You work more so with your team. So I think going into this next phase, I have to for sure work on being more independent when it comes to mock trial things because I know I can be. It's just like I work with my coach like so well. Like I like working with him. So I try to do that more. So I think for sure have to be independent. And then it's just like also kind of scary because it's like I'm restarting. Like I'm at the bottom of the barrel now. Like it's no more like Marvin Gladiator, Marvin Fort Lauderdale High. Like it's no more Mr. Exantus type thing. Like no one knows who I am really. Like so it's kind of scary starting at the bottom of the barrel, but I'm ready to put in the work to hopefully somehow try to be at the top of the mock game again.
It's going to go from Marvin Gladiator to Marvin Trial by Combat.
Oh, we'll see. I don't know about that. And USF has never ever had a trial by combat member, so
First time for everything.
I know, first time for everything. I was the first gladiator from Fort Lauderdale High School, so we'll see.
Well, you heard it, college kids. Marvin's coming for you. I think that's going to wrap up our interview here, Marvin. Thanks so much for sharing your ideas and your tips. And that's a wrap for this episode of Mock Talk, your destination for all things mock trial. Keep mocking, and I'll see you next time.